Hello everybody, we are back here on the Hunter Call of the Wild, and today it is finally time for our end of year Trophy Lodge tour. You guys have been asking for this the last week or two, so here it is. We're about to show off just one of our lodges in this video. We're going to show off our Great Ones and Super Rares lodge because this is probably the one that you guys are most interested in. Now, we will be doing a separate video for my other lodge, which is going to be my main lodge that has all my primary diamonds and rares of all the different species. This lodge is primarily just going to be Great Ones and Super Rares with a few filler diamonds along the walls as well. Just a quick disclaimer before we actually get into showing off all of these trophies. I use a grinding method called herd management. It's an endgame strategy used by primarily the hardcore grinding part of the community, who almost exclusively go for Great Ones and Super Rares and stuff like that. It is a grinding method that increases the amount of diamonds that you get, which in turn does make it a little bit easier to get Super Rares because whenever you do get a rare, there is a higher chance that it will spawn as a diamond. If you guys want more information about herd management, I do have some videos on the channel in this playlist that you're seeing on screen right now. I recommend checking them out if you want to learn more about how to herd manage. Just, be aware going into it that this is a method that takes, upwards of 100 hours to get it finished just for one species. And that's just the setup period. And then at that point, you can just repeatedly grind on your herds and get crazy amounts of diamonds and stuff like that. So just figured I'd mention that, as a lot of people don't actually know that. And I want, obviously, to be fully transparent going into a lodge tour as crazy as this one is about to be. Another thing I probably should mention, guys, is that all of these trophies were obtained over the course of 7,300 plus hours of playing the Hunter Call of the Wild. So this was not something that happened overnight. This is the fruits of my years and years of grinding. And yeah, so don't feel bad if your trophy lodge doesn't look quite like this. I literally play this game for a living here on the channel. I'm a full-time content creator, and this is pretty much the only game that I play. I make daily content on it, so I put an incredible amount of time into this game to provide entertainment for all of you. So don't feel bad if your trophy lodge isn't quite as crazy as this one right here. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at everything that we've got in front of us. So first of all, we have a super rare diamond piebald red deer with a albino hind and an albino diamond red deer with a melanistic hind. Now, both of these diamond rare red deer were killed during our first herd management red deer grinds over 2 years ago. We've been doing this for quite a while. As you can see, 2022, 9/15 of 2022. That's pretty crazy right there. It's just insane to think that we've been doing this for that long here on the channel. Then we've got ourselves 300 scoring moose galore. We've got a 295 up there as well. A couple of rares. We got a red deer rare. We've got a diamond tar right here. Got another diamond tar over there. So nothing super insane on that wall. But here's where things do start to get a little crazy. We've got an albino diamond whitetail deer, a diamond piebald whitetail deer, as well as another diamond piebald whitetail deer, which is just absolutely insane. And the craziest part about these whitetail deer is both of these diamond piebalds were before I even started herd managing. This was back in the days where we were grinding on Rancho Del Arroyo, and we managed to get ourselves these guys 2 days in a row, as you can see right here. 328 and 329. It was probably the craziest achievement I've ever had on the channel. Definitely one of the most rare things that you could ever have happen. I mean, the odds of getting one super rare is something crazy, like 1 in 30,000 chances. So to get them 2 days in a row is just ridiculous. And then what we've got over here is just a couple of diamond tar, as well as on this wall, this is where we've got all of my Great One bears. Well, not all of them, but a good chunk of them. We've got a fabled glacier right here. We've got ourselves a fabled spotted scoring 27-7. We've got a fabled glacier again. This is, I believe, the same variation. Yeah, this is both glacier 1. We've got ourselves a fabled cream bear right there, and fabled spotted, fabled glacier, fabled spotted, as well as a fabled chestnut right here, which is probably my favorite variation of the Great One bear. They just look so chunky and fluffy, and I absolutely love that. Then if we go over here, we've got ourselves a fabled hooded with the blade rack fallow deer Great One. We've got ourselves a chocolate diamond fallow deer, which are absolutely beautiful. I love the chocolate diamonds. And on this wall, we've got ourselves just a rare bear there. We've got a fabled glacier 2. I believe this is glacier 2. great one bear. We've got diamond moose, a couple of diamond and rare tar, as well as another fabled spotted black bear, and just a small piebald whitetail, and another diamond moose. Directly across from that room, we actually have some great one whitetail. We've got a random diamond harlequin duck, a massive great one whitetail deer. This is the big rack, which is probably the most common one for me to get whenever I'm grinding for whitetail. Whitetail is by far the animal that I have hunted the most in Call of the Wild, killing over 44,000 of these guys over the course of like 4 years of me hunting whitetail on the channel off and on. So yeah, pretty insane what we have managed to do with whitetail deer. 335 scoring Kinsko rack, great one whitetail. We've got a 50-50 rack that is half the drop time rack, half the cluster rack, scoring 411. A couple of rare tar right there, more rare tar over here. And then we've got another red tar there, another red tar or another white tar there. We've just got rare tar everywhere on this wall. And if we start walking towards the next section of the lodge, we will see ourselves a diamond brown pheasant. I believe this was a max score, if I'm not mistaken. I always forget what the max score is for these guys. Actually, now that I think of it, this is definitely not max score. I think I put this here as just a filler. In fact, we can actually put something a little more interesting in that spot. A melanistic pheasant. Absolutely beautiful. I love these guys right here. One of the prettiest rares in the entire game. And now we get to the centerpiece of the lodge. This is a crazy little section. We've got an albino tar. We've got ourselves another albino tar. And a white tar, as well as a black tar. We've got a couple of diamond pheasants right here. I believe that 21.7 was a max weight one. We've also got more diamond tar up top here, including a couple that score quite high. More, and more diamond tar. Just an absolute ton of them in this lodge. We have so many of them. As well as another super rare red deer right here. Again, this was from our first like crazy grinds we did on Tiawaroa for red deer with our herd management. And it was just insane to see the results we got from that. Right here in the centerpiece, we have a diamond piebald whitetail deer, as well as a diamond albino. And what you see in the center may look like a diamond melanistic, but it's not. It was a super troll. This guy scored 0.03 below diamond. Its full score was 255.06, and that is literally 0.03 below diamond. This was one of my saddest trophies I've ever had in Call of the Wild. It was so disappointing to go from, thinking I had a super rare to immediately seeing that it just barely missed it. Quite a tragic and sad moment, if you ask me. Now for this wall right here, we've got ourselves a bunch of different great one red deer. Now I believe all of these are a different rack. You will kind of see as we go along that there is differences on all of them. Just slight differences, so it may be kind of hard to point out immediately, but that's kind of the unfortunate thing with red deer. Is red deer great ones all look very similar. This is 4 different racks, and well, there's not too much differences between them. Now, what is quite different is this guy right here. The fabled two-tone typical rack great one moose. This is probably one of my favorite great ones I have ever killed. In fact, I think it probably is the #1. This is likely my favorite great one of all time. And then right behind it is probably my second favorite great one of all time, a fabled two-tone big rack moose. This guy just looks crazy. Both of them look absolutely incredible. The two-tone is probably my second favorite fur type in the whole game, only beaten out by the fabled birch. But because I have not managed to get a typical rack or big rack fabled birch, these guys end up being my favorite and second favorite great one I've ever killed. But man, if we ever get a birch typical rack or a birch big rack, that'll probably be my favorite of all time. Now let's go down this hallway right here. As we see, we've got a fabled ashen great one moose. We've got a couple of random rare moose. And then we've got this beauty right here. If I'm not mistaken, that is mid-rack. Or is that big rack? No, that's a mid-rack. That is the middle size rack for red deer. Yeah, like I said, it's tough to tell unless you really look closely. This guy right here is big rack. Easy to see that with the 269 score. And then if we go over here, we've got a 107.6 scoring tar. We've got another great one red deer. Another black tar. Another great one red deer. And another great one red deer. And another great one red deer. It just doesn't stop. A few more rare tar right here. Nothing too crazy on those guys. So let's go into this room right here next, because this is a lot of whitetail and fallow, I believe. We've got ourselves a great one whitetail up there. This one is the short rack. We've got a drop tine rack. This is one of our more recent ones, taken in November of 2024. We've also got ourselves a super rare albino diamond brown bear. Now, this is a mission diamond. I got this off of the Medved mission line, so this isn't as crazy as some of the other ones we've looked at because this is a guaranteed thing to get, but still really cool. Right here we have my most recent great one. This was my 99th great one of all time, and it is the most recent one we have killed, with this one happening on Christmas Day, which was really, really sick. It is a fabled silver with the spoon rack. Nice little looking fallow deer over there. And then we've got a black tar again. We've got a great one whitetail. This one was also killed in December of this year, which is awesome. We had a really good December, thankfully. It was probably the best Christmas time grinding we've had in a long time. Then we've got a diamond piebald fallow deer from our herd management fallow grinds. Diamond albino from the same grinds. We've got a fabled golden big rack fallow deer, which looks incredible, I gotta say. This is honestly a very underrated combination. I don't really like the fabled golden as a fur type, but when it's combined with this rack right here, it just looks so good. This is just incredible looking. Right in the middle, we've got 3 of the Irish elk rack fallow deer, with 2 of them being a painted and 1 of them being the fabled hooded. And one of the cool things about these guys right here is, I believe one of them is actually quite low scoring. Yeah, the fabled hooded. So his antlers actually point up more than the other 2. If we can get up on top of something, we can see a little bit better. But yeah, I really like the way that looks. How it kind of like goes upwards more. Whereas these fabled painted ones, they're kind of more flat, and I don't like that look as much. But the way it is on this fabled hooded, absolutely amazing. And the last 2 things in the room are a couple of big rack great one whitetail. Nothing too insane there. These are pretty like average scoring ones at 632 and 635, but still, you know, a great one's a great one at the end of the day. And just a few random filler ducks and stuff just randomly sitting throughout this room. So we really have looked over everything in there, and now it's time for the next room, which has a lot of my fallow deer. This is mainly a fallow room, and you're looking at probably one of the craziest multi-mounts in this entire lodge. This is 3 different fur type super rare fallow deer. Again, you can see that we took a lot of these around the release of the Great One Fallow Deer 703, 711, and then 1008, all in 2023. We've got ourselves a few diamonds back here, just kind of chilling. Nothing really too special here. Aside from this is a 267 scoring white fur type, which is pretty nice. Then on this wall, we've got 2 chocolates. We've got a dark. Nothing too insane. Let's take a look at this wall. We've got a 269 scoring spotted fallow deer, so that's just a common fur type, but it is a massive score. A bunch of random diamond moose, nothing too insane. We've got an albino gold scoring tar. We've got a great one whitetail scoring 631, and behind us, a really awesome looking fallow mount. We have my 3 favorite great one fallow I've ever killed. Right in the back, we've got the fabled silver blade rack. This guy is awesome. He is really awesome, but not as awesome as the next one, which is this fabled mocha. The fabled mocha blade rack is my most wanted combo out of any possible combos that you could get for the Great One Fallow Deer. I just love it, and I'm so happy that we actually managed to get it. My current goal for fallow deer is to try and get a fabled mocha with the typical rack, like the typical big rack. I'd love to get that if possible, but hopefully we can accomplish that somewhere in the near future. The last one that we've got here, though, is a fabled painted with the big typical rack, which looks really cool, I gotta say. Really underrated combination. The fabled painted mixed with that rack just looks so good. It's just so awesome looking. And now it's time to go directly across to the next hallway, because this hallway's got some very unique trophies that a lot of you probably don't even know ever existed in the game. And that's because they were removed very shortly after being released. This right here is a common fur type moose. It's just got a regular common fur, and so does this one right here, and that one as well. Because this was back during a time where it was actually really rare to get any of the special furs like the fabled speckled that we see right here. For the longest time, I think it was like a full month. The first like week of release, I think, week and a half, it was almost impossible to get one of these in anything except brown. Because these fabled fur types were treated as rares, which means, you know, there's probably like a 1 in 1,000 chance that your great one would actually have a fur. But thankfully, they changed that, and within a couple of weeks, they released a hotfix that made it so that it was more like a 1 in 7, 1 in 10 chance to get one of the fabled furs. But let's be honest, that still wasn't exactly what people wanted. So they once again changed it to where now you're guaranteed to get a fabled fur whenever you kill a Great One moose. But it wasn't always like that. And because of that, my first 3 were just basic brown and tan fur types. Now, we're also going to take a look at this guy right here because this is the first moose trophy of our Great One Moose Grind. It was a melanistic diamond. This guy is crazy and might be one of my rarest trophies in the lodge. I mean, the odds of getting this so early in a grind when I'm not even herd managed is very, very low. The chances of this were almost impossible. And then across, we've got 2 leucistic pheasants sitting on 1 multi-mount. One of them being a gold as well. Super, super nice looking. And then over here, we got a couple of diamond pheasants. Nothing too crazy there. Above here, we got a very small piebald. This one actually does have a little bit of like a notable background, though. This was a piebald that we kept as a pet on our Medved Taiga moose grind. And for the longest time, it just stayed on our map. We'd go see it every once in a while. And then I finally decided to go back and kill it for a video because we had stopped grinding on Medved. Like, I didn't plan on returning there, so I went back and took this guy down. You guys may remember that video. But yeah, just kind of a cool little story behind this little guy. And that's why he sits in this hallway, kind of like right at the head of it. Now, this room right here is going to have a lot of really crazy trophies. A lot of more new trophies to this lodge from the pheasant grind. We've got a couple of diamonds there. We've got ourselves a diamond moose. We've got a fabled painted blade rack fallow deer, which looks really, really awesome. That is a super cool looking great one. Then we've got a couple of diamond pheasants, a diamond moose. We've got ourselves a couple of whitetail right here. These are both the big rack. Nothing too insane about them, which is why they're on the wall like this. Then we've got a fabled ruby ring-necked pheasant. This is our most recent Great One pheasant. We got it on Christmas Eve, in fact, which was incredible. Just incredible to get a Great One on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Then we've got a diamond right next to it. 300.4 scoring moose. We've got the fabled Morganite Great One pheasant. Another really nice looking Great One. I think all the pheasant Great Ones just look so good. And then next up is my most tragic Great One of all time. And the reason for that is because when I shot this Great One whitetail right here, it was a common fur type, right? It was a common fur type when I killed it. The videos on the channel, you guys have seen this. This was my first ever Great One. Shot on 7/2 of 2021. Now, unfortunately, when I shot this, it was a very buggy time in Call of the Wild. And this actually happened to quite a few people. Pretty much anybody that shot whitetail and taxidermized whitetail trophies within the first like 2 or 3 weeks of the Rancho del Arroyo release ended up having all of the fur types change because they went to fix a bug and it created another issue where anything you shot during that time, unfortunately, was no longer the proper fur type. And for a lot of people, they now have rare fur type Great Ones when it was not actually a rare when they shot it. So that's very, very unfortunate, which is why this guy is kind of sitting in a shameful pose where we can only see his antlers because I just don't want to bring back the memories of this guy getting ruined. My first Great One ever, and a silly bug ended up screwing it up, which is so unfortunate. But now on to some of the newer trophies once again. A leucistic ring-necked pheasant with a melanistic ring-necked pheasant, both shot during our pheasant grinds that we've been doing on the channel for the last like month. Then we've got 2 Great One pheasants, a fabled citrine, and a fabled garnet. Both of these are really sick looking Great Ones. But what's even crazier is this fabled garnet, you can see that it was shot on December 5th at 13:47, which would be 1:47 p.m. But if we go to this fabled garnet, it was shot on December 5th as well at 11:14. We got 2 Great One pheasants in one stream, and they were both the exact same plumage type, which, unfortunate they were the same, but really sick that we got 2 in one day. The pheasant grinds have been ridiculous, and you guys have seen all of that here on the channel, so I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys that. You've seen it all. This guy right here is probably my favorite Great One pheasant that I have as of now. This is the fabled emerald. I really love the way this looks. Now, I'd love to get a fabled sapphire or a fabled pearl, but until I get one of those, this guy is my favorite one that I've killed. He's just so pretty. Now over to this section of the lodge. These trophies right here were actually all killed within 2 days of each other. We got a Great One whitetail right there, as well as 2 super rares, an albino diamond and a piebald diamond. We ended up killing the albino diamond first, I believe. Yeah. We got the albino diamond first, and then the very next day we killed a piebald diamond and a great one within 3 hours of each other. This was insane. I mean, this right here is an entire video here on the channel where we took down all of these. I believe this was for a 7-day great one grind. This video is one of my more popular 7-day grind videos on the channel, so I'm sure most of you have seen where we got all of these from. Now, this right here is a fabled chestnut black bear great one. Again, this is my favorite fur type for the great one black bear, so super stoked that I have 2 of them. We've got ourselves an albino pheasant as well as a melanistic pheasant, both awesome looking rares. And on this wall, a few diamond pheasants. Nothing too insane here though. And this little mount, 2 diamond molting, a couple of my favorite, or I should say my favorite non-rare type of pheasant to get. The molting is just super cool. And now we get to the main room. Well, almost. We got a couple places to look first. This is a fabled ashen typical rack great one moose, as well as one of the more rare great one moose that you could possibly get. This is a 50/50 rack fabled oak. I believe there's only 2 fur types that we have ever seen people get with a 50/50 antler combination. For some reason, it's really rare, but it looks so incredibly cool, man. It is an awesome looking great one. And then across from it, we've got 2 more great ones, a fabled oak spider rack, as well as a fabled ashen spider rack. Not really my favorite combinations, but still pretty sick. The moose in general, just an awesome looking great one. Then we got a few tar trophies just chilling right here. A red, a straw diamond. We've got a red brown diamond and a red. And if we go into this room, we've got just a few diamond moose and a few rare tar. So, you know, nothing too insane in this room. I believe this room over here, though, has something pretty incredible. So let's take a look at what we've got in this room. So we have a great one red deer, as well as a diamond white fallow deer, a diamond piebald whitetail deer. This one we got this year in November. Another crazy, insane trophy to get. We've got ourselves a diamond moose. We've got another great one red deer. Another diamond chocolate fallow deer, couple of tar trophies, but nothing too insane. 3 moose right there that are all diamonds, couple filler turkeys, and this guy right here. My most probably rare trophy that I've ever killed. One of them. I've probably said that at like 3 different trophies in this video, but this is a really rare trophy. This right here was a max weight diamond albino red deer shot off of Emerald Coast during our Emerald Coast red deer grind. Honestly crazy. We got this at the end of last year, so it's been over a year since we killed it, but still one of the coolest, craziest things I've ever got. And then right above it, just a diamond whitetail right there, as well as a piebald 217 scoring one, and this guy right here, Gerald. This is our little mascot red deer that we killed on one of our first red deer grinds after they moved them into the daytime drink zones. So just a cool little piece of history from the channel. So he got a nice little place here in the lodge. And now it's time for the main room. This is where the majority of my great one whitetail are, as well as some of my great one fallow and my fabled birch moose. So let's take a look at this first. This was the first 3 great ones that I got for fallow deer. We got the fabled silver spoon rack, we got the fabled golden spoon rack, and we got the fabled hooded spoon rack. I could not get away from freaking spoon racks with that grind. It was insane. Just 3 spoon racks back to back to back. Just wild that we didn't get any other racks in that time. Then we've got the fabled birch spider rack moose. Probably one of my favorite moose that we've killed. I'd say this is my 3rd or 4th favorite great one moose. Very awesome looking. Super, super cool. We've also got ourselves a few more great one red deer. Again, red deer, they pretty much all look the same, so we're not going to spend too much time on these guys right here. Then next to them, we have a really awesome whitetail multi-mount. Now, what makes this really special is not only is this all the drop tine rack, but it's actually 3 different looking drop tine racks. You see this guy right here. He's got the super close tip to tip spread, and I believe longer, I believe those are the G2s, G2 tines, I believe. And then if we move over to this guy right here, you'll see that he's kind of a 50-50 rack. One of them is a little bit closer than the other. This one kind of goes all the way in. This one is wider. And then this guy over here is both antlers are the wide ones. So it's cool. We got the wide variation, we got the close variation, and we got a 50-50 of both. Really, really sick. Next up, we've got a couple of big racks as well as a cluster rack. One thing cool about this is actually our lowest scoring big rack of all time. Let me flip this so we can actually see him better. This guy right here is the lowest scoring big rack I've ever killed. I mean, look at that tip-to-tip spread. That is very, very close. Super cool looking, though. Then next up, we've got another big rack, another cluster rack, another cluster rack. We've got a big rack, and a big rack. And as you can see, yeah, that's a gold medal. That's a gold medal on that whitetail. You want to know why? Spined it with a bow. The second I took the shot, it put its head down. Boom, right in the spine. Very unfortunate moment. Next up, we've got another whitetail mount, because if you guys couldn't tell, I'm a little obsessed with whitetail and I hunt them way too much. We've got a short rack. We've got the Kinsko rack, and then we've got a really wonky squished version of the cluster rack, which is really sick looking. It's not too often you get them to be that close together. Then above here, we got a melanistic pheasant, another cluster rack whitetail, another cluster rack whitetail, and a big rack whitetail. We've got a diamond pheasant just chilling there too. We've got a short rack, we've got a Kinsko rack, and we've got a cluster rack whitetail, a bunch of diamond pheasants on the wall. And then this is my favorite whitetail mount that I have. This guy right here, closest to us, is half the typical rack and half the short rack. My dream is to get a full typical rack. It still has not happened, but this is the closest I've got, with this being a 50-50. And then we have another one right here that is half the typical rack and half a really squished version of the Kinsko rack. I mean, look at that thing. That is an awesome looking antler. I absolutely love it. And the last one in here is a half cluster rack, half drop tine rack. Really sick looking multi-mount. Probably one of my favorites in the entire lodge. But there is still a couple of great ones to take a look at, and they are probably a couple of the toughest to get, because the tar is virtually impossible to grind efficiently nowadays with all the changes they made to spawning spook ranges, like that type of stuff. So I'll probably never get a third one, at least not anytime soon. This guy right here, though, is my favorite of the two tar that we got. This is the Fabled Skull Great One Tar, scoring 126. Now, this guy right here, you'll notice, says Fabled Gold, and it's also a gold medal. Yep, messed this guy up too. Ended up getting a very bad shot with the Gondhair rifle due to some miscalculations on where I needed to aim. So yeah, that's unfortunate. It's a cool looking great one, but what isn't cool is that gold medal. But it is what it is, you know, you can't really change the past. So like I say, hindsight is 20/20. Definitely would have aimed differently if I knew what I knew now. Well, everybody, that's it. That is the 2024 end of year Great One Lodge Tour, Great One and Super Rare Lodge Tour. I guess technically it's 2025 now, so this is more of a early 2025 Lodge Tour, but it's just showing off all the trophies we got during 2024 and earlier than that as well, of course. So hopefully we can add a lot of trophies to this in 2025. But if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, as well as leaving a comment down below and sharing this video with a friend. If you want to go the extra mile, consider becoming a member here on the channel so that you guys can get access to all the extra perks like emotes to use and stuff like that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!